headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister issues urgent dispatch on deadly Hanoi house fire. And later on, LYCHEE facilitates lychee exports. And in a world news, Russian president signs decree allowing seizure of U.S. assets in Russia.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time, and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lilin Lei with the latest updates. Now, on Friday morning, Prime Minister Phie issued an urgent dispatch on dealing with the aftermath of the deadly house fire that occurred on Thursday night on Chung King Street, Chung Hoa Ward, Gosi District in Hanoi. The fire has left a casualty of 14 people and injured 6 who are being treated at the transport hospital. On behalf of the government, the Prime Minister sent his sincere condolences to the relatives and families of the victims and issued directives. Accordingly, Deputy Prime Minister Chen Ong-ha will supervise the situation at the scene. Meanwhile, the Hanoi People's Committee will coordinate with the relevant authorities to visit, take care of, and provide support for the victims' families and develop plans to overcome the consequences of the fire and investigate the cause. If any violations have occurred, they must be dealt with accordingly to the law. In addition, the Prime Minister reminded relevant ministries, branches, agencies, authorities of provinces and centrally run cities to continue resolutely implementing fire prevention and fighting regulations and solutions and report back to the Prime Minister before July the 30th. He also requested raising awareness of firefighting and prevention among the public, especially as the dry season approaches. National Assembly deputies focused their discussions on lawmaking on Friday, the 5th day of the 15th National Assembly's 7th session. Following the presentation of a report proposing revision of the draft law on archives, deputies discussed several issues and debated differing opinions on the draft law. Deputies suggested adding regulations ensuring the right to access information of individuals, organizations, and agencies in society to guarantee consistency between archival laws and other legislation. They also suggested that it is necessary to regulate who has access to electronic document sources, that there needs to be an integration between electronic document sources and administrative procedure reform. As of the end of April, Vietnam had nearly 1,000 new projects granted foreign investment registration certificates, an increase of nearly 29% in the number of projects, and an increase of more than 73% in capital over the same period last year. This shows that Vietnam continues to be an attractive destination for foreign investors.
Infrastructure is constantly being expanded, human resources are guaranteed, and the government always listens and supports. These are the reasons why this South Korean semiconductor manufacturing enterprise has chosen to expand production and business in Vietnam with 2 factories, one in Bắc Ninh province and another in Bắc Giang province.
The biggest advantage is that local governments are always listening to businesses. Administrative procedures are getting faster and better.
As for more than 1,400 European businesses in Vietnam, the new survey showed positive comments from more than 2/3 of businesses about the long-term prospects for the next 5 years in Vietnam. The number of businesses planning to cut spending has also decreased, currently only 15% compared to 23% previously.
We see a very strong endorsement that over 50% of businesses highly recommend Vietnam as a leading investment location to their peers, to other FDIs coming from Europe. And we also see a very positive business outlook. If we speak in numbers, we see that 40% plan a workforce expansion, so supporting additional job creation in Vietnam.
Vietnam's bamboo diplomacy policy has created confidence in business stability for FDI enterprises that have entered or plan to enter Vietnam. Recent changes will bring improvements in state management, contributing to stability, Vietnam's economic growth, and solidifying confidence for foreign investors.
Over time, Vietnam has not only continued to affirm itself as a potential destination for investment capital flows in the high-tech sector, but also investment capital flows in traditional industries such as textiles, footwear, and real estate, which are also recording improvements. This is an important foundation to promote exports and Vietnam's economic growth in the coming time.
Deputy Prime Minister Chen Ong-ha has just signed the Prime Minister decision approving master plan revisions for developing Vietnam's seaport network for 2021 to 2030 with a vision to 2050. In particular, the Ho Chi Minh City Seaport will become a special seaport. In addition, development priority will be given to international gateway port areas such as LYCHEE, Hải Phòng, Cái Mép Thị Vải in Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu, as well as the construction of Cần Giờ International Transshipment Port in Ho Chi Minh City. At the same time, more policy research needs to be done to develop an international transshipment port in Vân Phong, Khánh Hòa, and determine how Trần Đề Port in Sóc Trăng Province will meet Mekong Delta transport demands. By 2030, Vietnam's seaport network is expected to handle nearly 1,500 million tons of goods and about 18 million passengers. Lạng Sơn border gate will extend working hours until about 11 p.m. every day to manage procedures for businesses and support the export of agricultural products. Many agricultural products and fresh fruit are currently being harvested, which means a spike in goods going through border gates. So far, customs authorities in Lạng Sơn province border gates are handling customs clearance procedures for a number of fruit and fruit products such as mango, jackfruit, watermelon, durian, dragon fruit, longan, and lychee, with a daily average load of about 8,000 to 10,000 tons, equivalent to more than 1,200 vehicles per day. Several major lychee growing areas in Hưng Yên and Bắc Giang are entering the harvesting season. This year's output is expected to reach over 100,000 tons. About one-third of the output will be exported to the Chinese market through Kim Thành International Land Border Gate. The localities are strengthening customs clearance coordinations for fruit exports.
Nearly 4,000 tons of lychees have been exported to China through the Lao Cai border gate. This business clears customers for over 200 tons of fresh lychees each day, and export procedures have been significantly reduced.
Custom clearance and goods release have been much faster, reducing the risks for lychee quality.
Border guards and customs forces have increased standby forces and arrived 1 hour earlier than the border opening time to support businesses and prevent congestion. Additionally, fresh lychee trucks have been transferred from the KB2 yard to the export zone, ensuring quick processes in the morning.
We prioritize arranging officers and soldiers to regulate vehicles, especially lychee trucks.
We are determined to solve last year's obstacles and prevent them from occurring this year. We have resolved the problems with priority channels.
Along with lychee, many southern fruits are also in full harvest. As a result, trucks visiting the Lao Cai border gate are projected to increase sharply in the coming weeks. The province is making great efforts to support businesses, providing Chinese requirements and ensuring close coordination for quick and convenient customs clearance progress.
Looking ahead, the turnover from the foreign trade of durian and vegetables is forecast to increase sharply. Although the price of fresh durians has slightly decreased due to good productivity, farmers' income can still be guaranteed. Local authorities have also provided guidance for farmers in applying planting area codes. More in the following.
This 3-hectare durian farm uses modern agricultural practices and has planting area codes. In the past 2 years, the farmer has had no worries about shortages or market failures.
Regulations are clear, so traders can no longer urge us to sell at low prices. The price is much higher than before.
The Mekong Delta provinces have about 33,000 hectares set aside for durian cultivation. However, areas granted planting area codes account for a small portion, less than 5%. To change the situation, local agricultural sectors have devised various measures.
We train and guide people. Local authorities also connect farmers with factories. Farmers follow high-quality standards and criteria set by the importing countries, so planting area codes are necessary.
You can see planting area code as a passport for not only durians but also all Vietnamese agricultural products to gain access to other countries.
Last year, durian exports brought home $2.3 billion. This record number will be much higher this year, only if growers and businesses do a better job of identifying planting areas and product origins and ensuring product safety and quality.
Before we move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News, Vietnamese military engineers who opened the way to victory. And later on, veteran goes his own way to protect the environment. Welcome back to VTV News Live. Now, in 1946, President Ho Chi Minh signed a decree establishing the Department of Public Works and Traffic, marking the birth of Vietnam's military engineering. The troops' mission was not to fight the enemy, but was equally arduous and dangerous as other soldiers. They also faced dangers when constructing roads and bridges and during demining. After the Northwest Campaign in 1951, military engineering was awarded a flag embroidered with 5 golden wards, opening the way to victory, which have become Vietnam's military engineering tradition. More in the following.
Nearly 4 million tons of bombs and mines, nearly double the total amount of bombs in the Second World War, were used to hit the Trường Sơn trails to destroy bridges and roads, cutting off supply lines. The U.S. military's flags were scattered continuously during the night. This compass has been with Major General Hoàng Kiên since his army days. He served as the commander of the military engineering forces during the war. He and his comrades endured rains of bombs and bullets, opening new trails and carrying out repairs. Their fighting motto was live on the battlefields, die resiliently and courageously.
The military engineers must respond to everything. We endured frequent airstrikes to open the way, bringing the whole nation to the battlefield to fight and win the war.
The Trường Sa archipelago more than 30 years ago had no fresh water. It was only bare white coral sandstone, but now it's covered in green like this. Large islands have gardens, small islands have trellises, brick houses have wooden boxes for growing plants. Major General Hoàng Kiên and his comrades came to the Trường Sơn Range to bring soil to these rocking outcrops of the vast ocean. The 83rd Naval Engineer Regiment also built dikes and concrete embankments around the islands to create wells for collecting rainwater.
Only military engineering can help. We build more than just roads, which means that any task must be fulfilled, no matter how difficult. We all do our tasks while maintaining the qualities of Uncle Ho's soldiers, resilience and courage. We withstand the storm and the wind, which blew throughout my youth. No matter it is the mainland, the sea and the islands, we go where the missions are. There is a great love immersed in our hearts. We keep the image of the fatherland burning in our hearts.
Currently, it is still the peak dry season in the Cheongsha or Spratly archipelago area. This year, the dry season is fiercer and longer than usual. Growing vegetables and raising livestock on the islands is wrought with difficulties. This task is even more difficult on rig houses. The following is a report about the spirit of the officers and soldiers of the DK120 rig house in overcoming hardships.
It's been almost 7 months without rain. Even in a place with no land, no fresh water, and at an altitude of 25 to 30 meters above sea level, the natural green color is still abundant. Peppers are still bearing fruit, porcelain plants still bloom. This result is not a coincidence.
We have fertilized and watered these pepper plants. Even if there are fish heads that we can't use up, we bury them, then they soak into the tree very well.
The vegetable garden at the DK1 rig house is carefully shielded to avoid strong ocean's waves, strong winds, and the scorching sun. Water use must be strictly followed.
In the dry season like this year, there is no rain yet. We have to use water very sparingly. For example, if we export about 20 liters, we must collect 10 liters for us to reuse. After we wash, we use that water to water the vegetables.
Currently, the soldiers here can also raise 4 pigs and 30 chickens. The pigs also often get seasick and thus skip meals.
The shaking on the rig house was unbearable. A pig couldn't stand on its feet. It shook so violently, it broke its hind leg. In 2017, a storm hit here. At that time, the rig house has just been completed. That was right in the eye of the storm. The storm destroyed all barns and warehouses.
The solar panel energy system installed on the roof of the rig house allows soldiers to complete tasks and activities, but it always needs repairing and maintenance because it is easily damaged by salty water vapor from the sea.
Here the sun and winds are fiercer, so the equipment brought down is easily damaged. The rig house is like a forward landmark of the fatherland. When there's electricity, the landmark lights up in the middles of the sea. It feels very sacred. I have worked on the rig houses for 15 years. I've been through all the rig houses. This rig house has been newly improved and upgraded.
17 wild animals have just been released into their natural habitat by Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park's Wildlife Rescue, Conservation and Development Center in Quang Binh Province. All the animals are endangered and comprise pigtailed macaques, civets, various species of turtle, small lorises, wildcats, palm civets, ground pythons, and hoary bamboo rats. The wildlife was voluntarily handed over to the authorities by members of the public. After being released, Phong Nha Kẻ Bàng National Park will continue to protect and monitor their environment and safety. When Hoi An's streets are still asleep, a man walks quietly, pushing a cart and picking up trash. His name is Nguyễn Thương, a veteran living in Cửa Đại Ward, Hoi An City. He has been diligently collecting trash for the past 8 years without receiving any compensation. The following story is our report on this special way of protecting the environment.
I suffered from a stroke, meningitis, and mastocytitis. I learned Uncle Ho's lesson: never be arrogant in victory, never be discouraged in defeat. I overcame my difficulties. I sleep from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., wake up to exercise and pick up trash.
Many people said my husband was always picking up trash. I kept yelling at him not to do it.
I kept going even though my wife and children distracted me. I find meaning in my work. Later, my family understood and encouraged me. Walking on street cleans every morning makes me happy.
Thương used to pick up trash only at night, but now he also collects from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. He designed his own uniform, trash carts, and slogans to preserve and clean the environment. During the past 8 years, his praiseworthy actions have inspired the community.
He provides us with a clean environment, which is very meaningful. We also joined him in picking up trash on the embankments at Cửa Đại Beach.
Even though he is old and has health issues, he still has a strong spirit for protecting the environment. His action has encouraged locals and tourists to join forces to protect the environment. When I pick up trash, the sunshine and the clean environment make me happy. I will keep doing it all my life. Let's join hands to keep the environment clean.
Digital travel platform Agoda on Thursday announced the top Asian destinations for European travelers, with Vietnam coming third on the list after Malaysia and Japan. The ranking was conducted based on accommodation searches. European countries with the highest number of searches for travel to Vietnam last month included France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Spain. The three most searched destinations in Vietnam by European tourists are Ho Chi Minh City in the south, Hoi An in the central province of Quảng Nam, and Nha Trang in the central province of Khánh Hòa, offering a perfect blend of relaxation, adventure, and culture. They are ideal choices for travelers looking to enjoy their long summer vacation to the fullest. Coming up next in our world news. Russian president signs decree allowing seizure of U.S. assets in Russia. And later on, Iran releases initial report on President Raisi's helicopter crash. Now moving on to our world news, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree on Thursday on the procedure for compensating Russia for damage caused by American sanctions. The decree provides for the possibility of damage compensation through the court at the expense of property in Russia belonging to the United States or American individuals, including securities, shares in the capital of legal entities of the Russian Federation, and property rights. The government has been given the right to determine whether the federal executive authorities is authorized to apply to the court. The president also instructed the government to ensure the introduction of amended legislation to implement his decree within 4 months. On Wednesday, the Russian president signed a decree permitting the voluntary liquidation of American Express Bank in Russia. This move is in response to the European Union's agreement to use the proceeds from the frozen assets of the Russian Central Bank to support Ukraine. The General Staff of Iran's armed forces on Thursday released a preliminary report on the causes of a recent helicopter crash that resulted in the deaths of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his entourage. According to the report, the helicopter had remained on its predetermined course and did not deviate from the flight route. Almost 90 seconds before the incident, the pilot of the crash helicopter had contacted the other 2 helicopters in the president's convoy. After crashing into the mountain, the helicopter caught fire. No trace of bullets or similar items has been detected in the wreckage. The report confirmed that no suspicious issue had been detected in the control tower and flight crew conversations. South Korean, Chinese, and Japanese leaders will hold their first trilateral summit in nearly 5 years next week in Seoul, according to South Korea's presidential office on Thursday. President Yoon Suk-yeol will meet with Chinese Premier Li Qiang and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in South Korea's capital on Monday. Yoon will hold separate bilateral talks with Lee and Kishida earlier on Sunday. The conference will discuss 6 areas of cooperation, including economics and trade, sustainable development, health issues, science and technology, safety and disaster management, and people-to-people exchanges, and issued a joint statement. Aquatic life, from coral reefs to fish in Thailand's eastern Gulf Coast, is suffering as sea surface temperatures hit record highs this month. The deteriorating health of the coral reefs affects not only marine biodiversity, but also the livelihoods of local communities. Take a look.
Once vibrant and colorful, these corals in Thailand's eastern Gulf Coast have turned white. It's a sign of deteriorating health. The coral reefs act as both a food resource and habitat, which is why deteriorating reefs can have a significant impact on marine biodiversity. Rising temperatures are not only impacting marine life, but also the livelihoods of local communities.
The coral reef is my heart and soul. When it isn't bleached, healthy and abundant, and you go out fishing at night, you can easily catch squid and fish near the coral reef. Earning a living was nice and easy.
SEIZURE's daily catch of seafood has dwindled in recent years. Sometimes he comes back empty-handed. Her underwater reading shows the ocean reached more than 33 degrees Celsius. That's 90 degrees Fahrenheit on the day of her dive.
Right now, most of it has turned pale in colour. Around 20 to 30% is in the middle of bleaching. Around 5% have already died due to the rising temperatures. The bleaching is quite fast-paced. There were reports of the coral bleaching in mid-April, and in 2 to 3 weeks, some of the corals had already died from the bleaching. Almost all of the species have bleached. There's very little that's not affected.
An estimated 90% of the live coral on reefs could decrease by 2050 without drastic action to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, according to the UN. Global scientists say the best chance for coral survival is for the world to cut greenhouse gas emissions.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To re-watch our program, you can visit our website or YouTube channel or download a mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.